only thing we have to fear is
in war.
fear itself.
There is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we burn, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and politics. Wall Builders Live with David Barton. Special program today. We're actually in the middle of a series from Rabbi Daniel Lapin. It's a session that he taught at our Pro-Family Legislators Conference, which Wall Builders puts on for state reps and senators from around the nation. Opportunity for them to sharpen each other's countenance as iron sharpens iron. It's a great program. Encourage you to share it with your legislators. You can find out more there at wallbuilders.com. You can find out more about Rabbi Lapin at youneedarabbi.com. We're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. If you missed the last couple of days, you can grab them right there at our website, wallbuilderslive.com, under the archive section. For now, we'll pick up where we left off. Back for more with Rabbi Dan Lapin.
But if we're touched by the finger of God, then I commend to your attention a wonderful old movie that you can still get from Netflix called African Queen. Katharine Hepburn is a missionary in Africa, and her brother dies. They're missionaries. They're bringing hope and light to the dark continent. And she has to take a ride down the river to be rescued. And the only way to get down the river is with a boater called Humphrey Bogart. Or actually, as his character in the movie is called, Mr. Nutley, I think was his name. Am I right? I believe it's Mr. Nutley. Anyway, he's an incurable alcoholic. All he does is drink. And this really bothers Katharine Hepburn. And on one occasion, while he's lying in the bottom of the boat in a drunken stupor, she starts taking all his bottles of gin and emptying them overboard into the river. Man wakes up in total shock. What are you doing? She says, well, I'm trying to help you. I'm getting rid of all this horrible alcohol, and you're going to be able to get us down the river if you stop drinking. He says, lady, leave me alone. It's my nature. And Katharine Hepburn, in a glorious moment in the movie, raises herself to a full height, and she looks at him and she says, nature, Mr. Nutley, is precisely what God put us in this world to overcome. Following your nature. Do you know how awful it would be to live among human beings who are all following their nature? The whole point of civilization is that we rise above our nature. And so whether we are animals or angels is terribly important, but it's even more important on an economic level. If we are nothing but animals, then it is only appropriate that, like all animals, we either have a zookeeper in the beltway to take care of us or a farmer to take care of us. Either we're wild animals or domesticated. What's the difference? If we're animals, somebody has to take care of us. That somebody is called government. That is the zookeeper or the farmer. Now think about what happens if you as a zookeeper, you feed all the elephants, and then you feed all the other zoos, and you know how to feed the elephants because you know there's a simple formula. The size of the elephant or the weight of the elephant multiplied by something tells you how many pounds of hay to give the elephant to eat. So you give all the elephants their food. You come back a few hours later, what do you notice? One big elephant has taken all the hay of all the other elephants. They're all sitting around with nothing in front of them, and this one elephant's got this big pile of hay. What does any responsible zookeeper do? You redistribute the hay. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could be persuaded, truly and completely convicted, that everything I believe is wrong, there is no God, we are really nothing but a process of unaided materialistic evolution, I promise you I would become a socialist. It's the only decent thing to do. If there's no God and we are truly animals, then we are incapable of creation. We are just like an animal, in which case you can measure our needs by a simple formula, which is why Marx said, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. But I'm a human being. I'm touched by the finger of God. You don't know what I need. My brother likes expensive restaurants. I like private education for my children so they don't have to be educated by government. That's where I choose to put my money. It's what I need. You don't know what I need. You have no idea what I need. Now, you do know what my elephant needs. Everybody knows what my dog needs. Everybody knows what my llama needs. Everybody knows what David's horse needs. Animals are easy because they have needs. Humans don't. If there is no God, then we are animals. Sophisticated animals, some of us with more hair than others, but that wasn't funny. And it's only appropriate that we redistribute everything. How about taxation? Have you noticed that the true doctrinaire leftist is never willing to answer the question, what is the absolute maximum figure that Americans should be taxed in the limit, beyond, never ever beyond? What is that theoretical maximum? They'll never answer, because the answer is 100%. And here's why. Imagine the cow coming to a farmer and saying, excuse me, farmer, we've noticed, you've been taking a lot of our milk. As a matter of fact, you've been taking all our milk. And we'd like to negotiate. You know what? This is unreasonable. This is a milk-paying revolt. We are willing that you take 50% of our milk. We'll be keeping 50% for ourselves. What does the farmer say? You poor dumb animal. I arranged for your mother to get impregnated. I was here the night you were birthed. I bring you your food every day. I treat you when you're sick. I'll take care of you when you retire. I'll educate your children. I'll give you your medicine. And when you die, I'll haul your mangy carcass away. You owe me everything. If we're animals, don't you dare dream of withholding any of your productivity from government. When the puppy meets its father 6 weeks after its birth, is there a joyful reunion? No. But we write, on the back page of our Bibles, we write down a family tree. And we go to great lengths to make sure that everyone knows who their mother and father is. Because there is a special relationship between parents and children. That's only for one reason, and that's because the fifth commandment says, honor your father and your mother. Well, aren't you supposed to honor all human beings? Yeah, but not the same. If you have no system of hierarchy, then you have no morality at all. If loving the stranger and the alien is exactly as valuable as loving your own spouse and your own parents and your own siblings and your own children, then that's like saying nothing. In other words, I love everybody means I love nobody. That's what it means. You obviously have to have a sense of hierarchy, otherwise there's no morality. Again, that's the system of the Bible. The system of animalism is, hey, you got to love everybody. Do you understand what the inheritance tax is, my friends? The inheritance tax is designed to shatter and destroy the link between parents and children. We are just like animals, right? How dare you think you have a closer relationship to your children than all the other children of society? We must care about the children. Adolf Hitler wrote that if you claim to be acting in the interest of the children, people will accept anything. Adolf Hitler wrote those words.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. Although education has remained an emphasis in America for nearly 200 years, what has changed the most over that period of time is the philosophy of education. For example, while religion finds no place of refuge in our schools today, such was not the case at the time of our founding fathers. In fact, when the Delaware Indian chiefs brought their youths to be trained in America's schools, on June the 12th, 1779, George Washington told them, "You do well to wish to learn our arts and our way of life, and above all, the religion of Jesus Christ. These will make you a greater and happier people than you are. Congress will do everything they can to assist you in this wise intention." According to George Washington, what students learned above all in American education at the time of the Founding Fathers was the religion of Jesus Christ.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact Wall Builders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let
Hitler wrote that if you claim to be acting in the interests of the children, people will accept anything. Adolf Hitler wrote those words. Everything is for all the children. Therefore, when a person dies, how dare you give preferential treatment to this group of children just because they happen to have his same name? All the children of society have to benefit, because when he dies, his assets don't belong to him anymore. They belong to all the children of the world. And you know who'll take care of the distribution? Central government will. The farmer in the Beltway. Everything flows from that basic idea that it all is a function of us being sophisticated but animals nonetheless. If we are animals, my friends, socialism is the only decent thing to do. It is natural. Socialism is natural. It's like nature. It's what happens when you take away the energy of let there be light. The natural condition is decent people become socialists. What do evil people become? Bandits, rapers and robbers, muggers and murderers. Decent people without the light of God become? Don't be timid about using the word, just say it. Decent people without God become? It's so obvious. It's not an accident that no socialist tyranny has ever had God. It's not an accident that the Soviet Union persecuted faith. It's not an accident that China persecutes Christianity. You cannot have socialism and religion because they're incompatible. Religion is the only source of energy which can be injected to defeat a system that impoverishes people and ultimately subjects them to tyranny. There is no other solution. Let me lay it out in a way that I think will make sense. I don't know if any of you remember a delightful comedy that used to be called Gilligan's Island. Now, to just remind you, when America was a more innocent place, do you know Gilligan's Island was a prime time show? It wasn't a kids show for Saturday morning. It was prime time, weekends, weekdays, 8:30 p.m. Everyone used to watch Gilligan's Island. Today, prime time is sexual depravity. Back then, don't let anybody tell you America hasn't changed. It has. Don't anybody tell us America does not need to be restored. It does. And you, ladies and gentlemen, you are the only ones who are going to be able to do it. Let's look at Gilligan's Island, painted a little large. I ask you to use your imagination yet once again. Can you all see Gilligan in front of you? You're just saying it to please me. I'm tricking you. He's not here, actually. I just want you to think about Gilligan's Island, because I don't want you to imagine Gilligan. That's not the point. I want you to imagine that you are, shall we say, a school teacher. You're the only adult on a boat trip, a nature boat trip, to show your students 50 high school boys seniors. You're taking them to the Galapagos Islands, and there's a big shipwreck, and you're all cast ashore on a desert island. That's why I said Gilligan's Island. But this isn't a comedy. This is now for real. And you're not going to be rescued for 4 years. Let's just stipulate that. Are you with me? This is now a thought experiment. We cannot actually carry this out. We will be arrested for child endangerment. But we can think through the experiment. What do you do as the only adult in charge as you all gather yourselves on the beach and you count and thank God you're all there? What do you start doing as the only adult in charge? You start realizing that it's only a few hours to nightfall, and meanwhile there's going to have to be food and water. It's really quite disturbing. So what you do is you do everybody together. Fortunately, the weather is nice, and you all just camp out on the beach. First thing in the morning, you wake up and you get all the boys together. What do you say? Here's what I think you would say, and again, if anybody has it differently, we'll have time to talk about it, but I think what you'd probably do is you'd say, okay, you guys, you 12 guys, stand here, you 12 there, 13 here, 13 here. We've got 4 teams now. You guys, I want you to go off and find a source of drinkable water. Find a spring, find a river, find something. You guys, I want you to comb the island and find anything we can eat. vegetables that are growing, fruit trees, maybe you can even capture a wild pig or something. Just get something. You guys, you go down to the lagoon and see if you can catch some fish. You guys, the last team, I want you guys to stay here on the beach and start building a shelter so that if rain comes, we'll be able to stay warm and dry. And everybody gets to work. That night, people are tired and exhausted and they sit around the campfire with mixed success. Yes, they found some water, but by the time they tried to carry some back in some coconut shells. They didn't get much back. People are getting pretty thirsty and grumpy. For the guys who went for some food, yeah, they found something that looks like potatoes, and it's not much. The guys fishing, all they got are tales of what got away. The guys with the shelter, they did pretty well. But everybody's grumbling about them all having the worst job, right? And so the next morning, when you get ready to send everybody out again, what are they going to say? It's nature. The grass is greener on the other side. The guys who had to go look for water said, hey, we want to do fishing today. They had fun down at the beach. We had to go climbing into the interior. And the guys who had to go looking for vegetables said, we want to stay here and help with the shelter. And what do you as the teacher know? You know the secret of specialization. That the only hope of getting water and food and fish and shelter is if you leave the guys who've already made the mistakes the first day to get to work the second day. Because at least they won't make the same mistakes they made. If you send new people, it's going to be a repetition of yesterday. But if you can persuade the teams to keep to their work, maybe this time they actually will come back with some fish. And by the third or fourth day, more than definitely they will. And the guys with the water may have figured out a way to find some old hollow logs that they can use to channel the water down to the beach. Everybody's going to come up with something because human creativity is at work. But now it starts getting interesting. Here's where it gets interesting. You see, what happens is that after a few days, a number of the more responsible boys, and in a group of 50 high school senior boys, there's not a lot of responsible ones. And they come to tell you, in my group, 3 of the guys are shirking. The minute they're out of sight of you, they won't help us with the gathering of fruit and vegetables. They just sit out, and they figured out how to play cards with stones. And the guys at the beach say, there's 2 of us who are working on fishing. The other guys are just swimming and playing water polo. And pretty soon, as you investigate, you discover that out of your 50 high school boys, how many of them are actually being productive and helping find stuff for the group? Maybe 10. Maybe 20. Maybe the majority of them are shirkers. They figured out a way to game the system. And at the evening, when everybody eats whatever was found, whether it's fish or yams or water, whatever it is, everybody eats. They found, and this is great, they can play during the day and eat at the night, same as everybody else. You're the teacher. Please tell me, what are you going to do? I'll tell you what I think you would do if you didn't have God's biblical blueprint. You would do what even the pilgrims did when they first arrived. Which, you know what? Instead of fighting with everybody, wouldn't it be beautiful if we could all be brothers? And what you're going to do is you're going to say to the boys, hey, you know what? Listen, guys, just stop making a fuss. Just let everybody work as hard as you can, please. And we're just going to put everything together in the evening. And we'll all sit down and eat. And the folks who are not working love that idea. The folks who are working start getting a little antsy about it. What are you going to do? I'll tell you what. How about we complicate the situation a little bit? I lied. You didn't have 50 high school boys. You only had 25 high school boys. And 25 high school girls. Now what are you going to do? How long will it be before you have a few pregnant girls? We're on a desert island, for heaven's sake. Now, who feeds the pregnant girls? The guys who impregnated them, or everybody? And when somebody comes down with a fever, who feeds them? Do you see you have a real problem on your hands? You've got to make some tough decisions. This is how societies get set up. And those societies that have followed a biblical blueprint created a system of incredible success and vitality and hope and opportunity, a place where scientific and technological advance could bring life-extending miracles, but it doesn't offer equality. It offers freedom, because those two are incompatible. You have to choose. The word priority is a singular word. Anyone who says, I have 3 priorities, is like talking about left and right. It doesn't mean anything. A priority is a singular word. You have to decide, is your priority freedom or equality? You cannot have both. Because freedom means that there is also freedom to fail. Equality is an attractive, appealing idea, but it's the idea that spiritual gravity uses to tug us downwards and bring us to hopelessness and nothingness. That is the concept we're dealing with. It is very difficult to fight the pull towards socialism. As the teacher of this group of 25 boys and 25 girls, you will discover that the easiest thing, as the person who's in charge, it is easiest to push for equality, because you'll have least disruption, you'll have least fighting, and your role as leader of the group is least likely to be challenged, because there will always be more people who are the receivers than the creators. There will always be more takers than makers. And the takers will make sure that you stay the teacher and you stay in charge. That is the system. Spiritual gravity is a force in the world. It is a reality. It's one you all recognize. You all knew that the iron oxide will never turn into a Buick. You all knew that my marbles will never come back to a pattern. You knew that because the world in which we live is naturally tending towards chaos. What happens? The Scientific American did a great feature a few months ago. How long will it take for cities of the world to vanish if human beings vanished? Now, you know the left dreams of that, but do you know how long it takes for New York to become indistinguishable from the jungle? It's amazingly short. It's about 400 years. The bridges collapse in about 150 years. That's all. George Washington Bridge across the Hudson River, the Verrazano Bridge across New York Harbor. That's why they keep painting them always. But if you stop that, about 150 years, they're down. Skyscrapers tumble in about the same period, or actually a little bit earlier. And again, the whole mechanism is explained. If human beings stop maintaining, how long does the place last? The natural condition always pulls towards chaos. Never does a jungle yield a city. But a city, if human beings stop injecting the energy, the city will become a jungle. If you stop maintaining your car, it'll become a heap of rust. It always moves in that direction. If you stop injecting a vision of hope and truth into an economy, it will always move towards socialism for the reasons we've discussed. It is absolutely reliable. You can absolutely count on that. It is unpopular and tough to inject that light. It's being godlike. It's imitating God. Imitatio Dei. It's trying to make ourselves godlike. Let there be light. It doesn't make everybody love you. It doesn't make you popular. But it's the only way of holding the whole thing together. Ladies and gentlemen, the words that Moses spoke to Joshua are never more true than they are today. Be strong and of good courage. What is the difference between those two words? Is it just a poetic thing? As be strong, be courage, be strong and of good courage. What is the difference between the two words? Well, in ancient Jewish wisdom, those two words in Hebrew, chazak ve'ematz, mean two different things. Be strong means to know what is right and to be willing to follow it. Courage means to face down the challenges to doing the right thing. Why that order? Why doesn't it say be of good courage and be strong? In other words, have the courage to do the right thing and then know what the right thing is. No, because if you don't start off knowing what the right thing is, you can't develop the courage to do it. You first of all have to be filled with conviction as to what is right. And then you develop the courage to do it regardless of the challenges that you will encounter. And so I say to you from the bottom of my heart, chazak ve'ematz, be strong and of good courage. our children and our grandchildren, and in fact the entire foundation of civilization depends on America refinding itself, America recovering. I'm so grateful for your strength and for your courage. Thank you all. Thank you.
Well, that's it. That's all the time we have today, and that's actually the end of Rabbi Lapin's actual presentation, but the Q&A that follows it is just as good as the presentation. He has some wonderful answers to some timely and important questions for our day. So we're going to bring you that tomorrow, and then that will conclude this four-part series from Rabbi Lapin at the Pro-Family Legislators Conference. Again, I want to remind you that that's a wonderful conference for your state legislator. It happens in the Dallas-Fort Worth area every year, and it's put on by Wall Builders. It's a wonderful biblical worldview opportunity and a great time to sharpen each other's countenance as iron sharpens iron. And so we encourage you to share that information with your state legislator and give them the opportunity to come in and be a part of the conference. All that information can be found at wallbuilders.com, and there's a link there under the events for the Pro-Family Legislative Network and the Pro-Family Legislators Conference. So special thanks to Rabbi Lapin for being a part of that this year, and special thanks to you for joining us today and listening. If you missed the first couple of parts, this was part 3 in a 4-part series, and be sure and go to wallbuilderslive.com, click on archives, and you can download the previous 2 days. And if you're going to miss tomorrow, you can later download that archive as well. You've been listening to Wall Builders Live with David Barton.
We stand undivided forever.